case of Marks v. Sunny's Rooftop Bar. My name is Judge Grieve. Scoring judges, please look to the two buttons on the lower left of your screen. Turn off your audio and video. This should remain off until the trial ends. You should also have your video set to hide all non-video participants, which means the only people on the screen should be the advocates and me. So attorneys, are we ready to make appearances for the court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And let's start with, thank you. Let's start with the plaintiff.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Allison Rulli. Today, I will be representing Ethel Marks on behalf of her deceased daughter, Jessica Marks, for the plaintiff. I'm joined today by my second chair, Olivia Murray.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
May my witness please introduce himself as well.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Morgan Levin.
Good afternoon. And from the defense.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Jaden Witter, and I will be representing the defendant, Sunny's Rooftop Bar, in today's matter, along with my second chair, Larissa Laura, and our witness today will be Sunny Mehta. May she come on screen to introduce herself?
Good
afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Sunny Mehta.
Good afternoon to everyone. Pre-trial matters from the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor, just one. First, we'd like to remind the court of evidentiary ruling 11, which states that exhibits 1, 22, and 23 are pre-admitted and available to be used at any time. We'd like to inform the court that we will be using exhibit 1 in our opening statement.
All right. Is that all right with defense counsel? Any objections?
There's no objections, Your Honor.
All right. And I think plaintiff said that was the only issue they had. Defense, do you have any pre-trial matters?
No, yes, Your Honor. First, according to Rule 615, all witnesses are constructively sequestered, barring party representatives. So with that being said, at this time, we would like to tell the court that our party representative today for the defense will be Sunny Mehta.
All right. And I believe no parties for the plaintiff. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. Finally, we would just like to ask Your Honor's preference on displaying exhibits for the court. Shall we just signify to the court that we will be displaying an exhibit, or would you like us to ask permission before doing so?
Let's go ahead and to make this easier, we'll assume that any documents you show on the screen for foundation purposes, that's fine. You don't have to ask to do that. We'll assume the jury doesn't see an exhibit until it's entered. But yeah, that's fine. So you don't have to ask permission to display a document. We'll assume that the jury doesn't see it until it's been admitted. And we'll leave it at that.
With that, Your Honor, the defense is ready to proceed to opening statements.
All right. So we will now be hearing opening statements. So everyone should make sure they are in speaker view. That button is on the upper right of your screen. And attorneys, please remember to mute your audio when the other attorney is speaking. So with that, if there are no other pretrial matters, plaintiff, you can proceed with your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. "19-year-olds aren't supposed to die. 19-year-olds aren't supposed to be served alcohol." It's March 24th. Two minors walk into Sunny Mehta's bar. They're not asked their age. They're not asked to show their IDs, and they're immediately served an entire bottle of wine. It's a slow night, and these minors have the attention of their bartenders, Sunny Mehta and Frankfurt Johnson. The evidence will show that these two bartenders kept bringing these minors, Jessica Marks and Morgan Levin, alcohol. First the wine, then the beer, then 3 hard seltzers, then another beer, then a free rum and Coke, then shots, just minutes before they watched Jessica Marks drive away. The evidence will show that drink after drink after drink, 5 foot, 110-pound Jessica Marks looked drunk. The evidence will show that Sunny's bar saw. Today, the plaintiff charges Sunny's bar with the wrongful death of Jessica Marks under California Business Conduct Code 25601.2. It's our duty to show that Jessica Marks' death was more likely than not a result of the negligence of Sunny Meta. This means Miss Meta or Mr. Johnson more likely than not continued to serve a minor alcohol, and they continued to serve her after she displayed the symptoms of being obviously intoxicated. But we also have to show that this alcohol was a substantial factor in her death. To meet our burden today, we're going to ask you to look at what Sunny and Johnson knew and what they saw on March 24th. First, we need to show that the alcohol Miss Marks consumed was a substantial factor in the car crash that killed her. The evidence will show that Jessica Marks's blood alcohol content was 0.16. You'll hear today that that's twice the legal limit to drive, 16 times the legal limit for a minor. There will be no reasonable dispute today that Miss Marks was significantly intoxicated and severely impaired while driving on March 24th. There will be no dispute that she was provided that alcohol by Sunny's fall. But the biggest question in today's case will be whether or not Jessica appeared drunk to Sunny Meta or Frankfurt Johnson, whether she had bloodshot eyes, poor muscular coordination, slurred speech, or any other symptom that would lead a reasonable person to believe that she was drunk. Ms. Levin's going to tell the court today that she was there that night, that she saw Jessica present all of those symptoms. Ms. Levin's going to tell the court today that Miss Marks was so drunk, she stumbled and she fell over into Sunny Meta. You're going to hear that Miss Meta said, "Whoa, I think we might need to cut this one off." You're going to hear that she said, "I hope this one's not driving." And then you're going to see evidence that she continued to serve them anyway. But today we have so much more than Miss Levin's word against Miss Meta's. Today you're going to see a video taken near the end of the night showing Jessica Marks slurring her speech, showing her not making sense, showing her as obviously intoxicated. Miss Meta will tell the court that Miss Marks was at that table, that she saw Miss Marks at that table all night long. She'll tell you that she brought them drink after drink after drink right there, that she was there 8 to 10 times that night. Today, the evidence will show that the actions and inactions by Sunny Spar, they were a substantial factor in the death of Jessica Marks. You'll hear that this wasn't the first time they served a minor. It wasn't the first time a minor's been hurt. By the end of today's trial, the evidence will show that it was the defendant's furnishing of alcohol, the negligence and over-serving that caused Jessica Marks' death. We'll ask you to find Sunny Spar liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Opening from the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. First, I would just like to ask, can you see and hear me okay?
Yes,
May I begin, Your Honor?
you may.
May it please the court. Members of the jury, I'll start by asking you one single question. How do you fix an issue that nobody knows about? How can you be responsible for an issue that was never present? Now, problems are meant to be fixed, and problems are meant to be taken responsibility for. But that's when there's an actual problem. What problem are you meant to fix? What problem are you meant to take responsibility for? And there are none. And today's case is exactly about that question. It's about fixing unknown issues. So let's start by talking about these issues. On the night of March 24th, 2019, the 19-year-old college student, Jessica Marks, walks into Sunny's rooftop bar and orders drinks under a fake ID. Now, Miss Marks orders her drinks, and in the 10 times that Sunny Meta, the bar owner, stops at her table, everything seems fine. Jessica Marks didn't show a single sign of being obviously intoxicated. So what this means is that when Jessica Marks drove off of a highway into a ravine that same night, she was responsible. And now Sunny's rooftop bar is being blamed for Jessica Marks' wrongful death. And because of this, we're pursuing what's called an affirmative defense of comparative negligence. And that simply means that Jessica Marks' death was caused by her actions. And now, members of the jury, before we go any further into it, we will tell you that the story of Jessica Marks is a tragedy. A young 19-year-old girl was looking for fun on spring break, but instead she found the bottom of a Pacific Coast ravine. You see, but the thing about that is Jessica Marks chose. She chose to get her keys. She chose to step into her car. She chose to drive. Still, we're being blamed for her death. In order to prove that we're responsible for her death, the plaintiff needs to prove the following points. 1, Jessica Marks was a minor. 2, she was obviously intoxicated. And finally, the defendant, Sunny's Rooftop Bar, knew that she was a minor, she was intoxicated, and continued to serve drinks. But you won't hear that today. In fact, what you'll hear is testimony from 2 witnesses. Now, Sunny Mehta, the defense's witness, will tell you today exactly what happened that night. She thought that Jessica Marks was a 23-year-old college student, just having fun on spring break. Jessica Marks didn't seem obviously intoxicated. She didn't look obviously intoxicated, nor did she act intoxicated. Now, members of the jury, next, you're going to hear from Morgan Levin, who sat at that table and drank and drank and drank. And now she's in court lying to you about what happened. And you'll hear that in her testimony. Members of the jury, the plaintiff have the burden of proof today, and they're calling Morgan Levin. Morgan Levin could barely walk in a straight line that night. And yet still Morgan Levin's the trusted witness that's going to tell you how Jessica Marks acted. They don't want what's right, members of the jury. They want us to take blind responsibility. But how can you be responsible for an issue that was never present? Now, at the end of this trial, when you deliver your verdict, you'll be asked to answer that same question. And when you do deliver your verdict, we ask that you deliver a verdict in favor of the defendant, Sunny's Rooftop Bar. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. I just wanted to make a brief comment that defense counsel, for me, your video seems fuzzy. I can understand you totally, completely fine. Doesn't impact me at all. I just want to let you know if you need us to take a minute so you can fix it, you can just message that in. Otherwise, we'll begin with plaintiff's case in chief.
Yes, Your
The
Honor.
plaintiff ready to call their first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. We call Morgan Levin to the stand.
You may proceed.
One moment, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Levin.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Levin, could you please introduce yourself to the court?
Well, I'm a student at UCLA.
How do you know Jessica Marks?
I knew Jessica from junior high into college. She was my best friend for about 8 years.
When was the last time you saw Jessica?
On March 24th, 2019, we went to a bar that night, and that was the last time I saw her.
I know it's going to be hard, but I want to talk a little bit about that last day. When was the first time you saw her on March 24th?
Well, it was early into the afternoon, evening, about 6 o'clock. I went over to her Airbnb. There was a bottle of wine that she had on the table, and I had a glass. She had probably 1 or 2 glasses.
Did you guys plan on staying in at the Airbnb that night?
No, not for long. From the Airbnb, Jessica drove to a bar in Malibu called Sunny's Rooftop Bar.
I want to talk a little bit about Sunny's. What time did you first arrive?
We got there at around 9 p.m. that night.
How did Jessica look when you arrived at the bar?
Well, before we even stepped foot in the parking lot, I could see some signs. She had a couple of signs of intoxication. Her eyes were bloodshot. She had some slurred speech.
When you arrived, did you order any alcohol?
Yes, we both did. We got into the bar. We were seated at table 4, and we started ordering drinks.
Who did you order from?
The only server that night was Sunny, the owner. That was our server the whole night.
How frequently did Sunny visit your table?
Say about 8 to 10 times at least. Every time she brought a new round, and every round she would clear our table of drinks.
How long did she spend at your table each time she visited it?
About a minute, usually.
I want to talk specifically about the alcohol you and Jessica were served that night. You mentioned you ordered a bottle of wine. How much of that did you drink?
From that bottle of wine, I had maybe one glass, personally.
Did Jessica finish the rest of the bottle?
She did. That's what I remember.
How many drinks other than the wine did you order?
From other than the bottle of wine, we probably ordered a total of around 7 drinks.
How many of these drinks did you drink?
I had a beer and a shot with a glass of wine, so the 2 other than the glass of wine.
So Jessica drank the other 5 drinks in addition to that bottle of wine?
Yes.
Would you recognize a copy of the receipt from that night if I showed it to you?
Sure.
Your Honor, I'm now showing this witness, Exhibit 17. Is this faithful and accurate to the best of your memory?
It appears to be, yes.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibit 17 into evidence at this time.
Any objection?
There are no objections to Exhibit 17, Your Honor.
All right, Exhibit 17 will be admitted.
Mr. Levin, I want to talk a little bit about Jessica's behavior. Did Jessica's behavior change as she was served this alcohol?
I would say so. To me, she just looked like she got more and more drunk.
When you say more drunk, what do you mean?
She had some signs. Her eyes, again, were bloodshot. She was slurring her words still. She was loud. At one point, she even fell over.
What time did she fall?
It was around 10 p.m. I was helping her downstairs. We were headed to the bathroom. She lost her balance and she fell into Sunny.
Did Miss Mehta say anything?
She did. She said, "Frankfurt, I think we need to cut this one off."
Mr. Levin, I want to talk about some photos you took that night. Your Honor, I'm showing what's been marked as Exhibits 11 through 16 on the screen at this time. Do you recognize these exhibits?
I do. These are pictures from my phone that night.
And are they truthful and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Your Honor, we offer Exhibits 11 through 16 into evidence at this time.
Any objection?
There are no objections to Exhibits 11 through Exhibit 16, Your Honor.
All right,
Mr.
they will be
Levin,
admitted.
Permission to publish this to the jury, Your Honor.
Granted.
Mr. Levin, I'm showing you specifically Exhibits 13 and 14. Now, you said Jessica fell at 10 p.m. Were you served after she fell?
Yes. We were served green tea shots after that. Yeah.
I'm now showing you Exhibit 10. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Exhibit 10. Yes, I've seen Exhibit 10. That's a video. There it is. That's a video from my phone.
Permission to play this video for the court.
Granted.
Objection, Your Honor.
Hi everyone, Morgan and I.
Yes, let's pause the video. What's your objection, counsel?
Your Honor, I don't believe Exhibit 10 has been entered into evidence yet.
My
Response.
apologies. We offer Exhibit 10 into evidence at this time.
Counsel, any objection to the video?
Yes, Your Honor, it's to hearsay.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
You may.
Your Honor, we're not offering any of the statements elicited by Jessica Marks for the truth of the matter asserted. Instead, we're offering them to show her present state, that she appeared intoxicated, and let the jury see the symptoms for themselves.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
Your Honor, based on that response, I would then change my objection to lack of foundation. May I be heard, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, this video of Jessica Marks does not prove to the jury that any members or any workers of Sunny's Rooftop Bar, the defendant, were present for the taking of this video. Therefore, this video cannot prove to the jury that Jessica Marks was acting in this manner in the presence of the defendant.
So counsel, explain the foundation issue to me. What foundation is this video lacking?
Your Honor, there's simply lack of foundation that Jessica Marks had this demeanor in the presence of any member of the defendant party. Therefore, anyone working at Sunny's Rooftop Bar, and there was no one there present for the taking of this video, or at least there was no foundation laid to show that there was anyone present for the taking of this video, which would make this video irrelevant evidence.
So to clarify, are you objecting to foundation or relevance?
I'll make my objection relevance because there is no foundation that anyone of Sunny's Rooftop Bar was present for this video, Your Honor.
Overruled on foundation, let's talk about the relevance. So plaintiff counsel, why is this relevant?
Your Honor, it's our contention that Jessica Marks was displaying these symptoms throughout the entire night. This video just captures them. The standard in today's case is what a reasonable person would have seen. We've established that Sunny Mehta was at this table 8 to 10 times. She would have seen this behavior. It's relevant to show the jury how Jessica Marks was presenting.
If I may respond to that, Your Honor.
Briefly, yes.
Your Honor, it hasn't been established that one, Jessica Marks was acting in this demeanor the entire night, seeing that this video only covers 37 seconds of this night. And again, just like I mentioned before, Your Honor, no member of Sunny's Rooftop Bar was present for the playing of this video. Therefore, this wouldn't be relevant, as today's case is about how Jessica Marks acted in the presence of the defendant and how they perceived her actions.
Those sound like excellent cross points, but I'll overrule for now.
Yes, Your Honor.
And to clarify, the document is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to publish this to the jury now.
You may.
Hi, everyone. Morgan and I are in Hollywood. We're at a bar. It's kind of like a Philly bar, except everything is really, really expensive. $10 for a seltzer. And everyone here wants to be a model or an actress. You know, I'd like to thank the Academy. Mom and Dad, you've inspired me. Okay, well, go big or go home.
Mr. Levin, how does Jessica appear in that video to you?
She appears drunk.
Do you know what time this video was taken?
I don't remember exactly, but I know it was posted at around 11:11.
Finally, I'm showing you exhibits 15 taken at 10:57 and 16 taken at 10:32. In between these two photos, were you served more drinks?
Yes, we were.
So did Sunny Mehta or Frankfurt Johnson ever cut you off that night?
No, no one at the bar cut us off. We were served right up till closing time.
Objection, Your Honor. Leading question.
May I be heard,
Response?
Your Honor, the question started with did, yes, but it didn't ask for an answer, meaning my question didn't call for a specific answer from the witness.
I believe it did say did. Let's just re-ask the question in a way that's definitively not leading.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Levin, were you ever cut off that night?
No, no one at the bar cut us off. Like I said, we were served the whole time.
Finally, how did you get home at the end of the night?
Well, I mean, I called an Uber at the end of the night.
Why did you call an Uber?
I didn't want to get in a car with Jessica, and I told her that. It just didn't seem safe at all.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
All right, defense counsel, ready for cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Good afternoon, Mr. Levin.
Good afternoon.
Now, I'd like to start off by talking about the week of March 24th with you. That week, you and Jessica were constantly drinking, weren't you?
We did go to a number of bars throughout LA, yes.
Oh, in fact, Jessica and you had drank every single day that week except for one, correct?
That's right.
Now let's just talk about your actions prior to going to Sunny's Rooftop Bar on March 24th. You two had drinks before this, correct?
Right, like I said, I had a glass of wine, and Jessica had probably one or two.
So Jessica drank at her Airbnb, correct?
Yes.
And after this, you went to Sunny's Rooftop Bar, correct?
That's right, we did.
So after drinking, Jessica drove to Sunny's Rooftop Bar, am I mistaken?
No, you're right, Jessica drove us.
And Sunny's Rooftop Bar isn't the only place that Jessica consumed drinks, am I mistaken?
Objection, Your Honor, vague as to time.
It's crossed, so I'll overrule.
That sounds about right. Like I said, we had a little bit of wine at the Airbnb, and then we had drinks at Sonny's.
Now, Mr. Levin, let's just move on to what took place at the bar itself. During that night, the two of you ordered 5 rounds of drinks, right?
That's right.
And you did have some of these drinks, didn't you?
Right. I had a beer, I had the shot, and I had a glass of wine.
So Jessica didn't drink every single drink that was ordered to your table, table 4, correct?
No, not the whole list.
And now you guys remained at the bar for around 2.5 hours, give and take, correct?
That's right.
And when it was time to leave, you stated on direct examination that you were concerned for Jessica, correct?
That's right.
You said that she seemed way too drunk to drive.
Right. I didn't feel safe getting in a car with her.
Yet still, she drove, didn't she?
That's right. She did a sobriety test on herself, and she wasn't as drunk as I thought, but she did go, and she drove.
So while she drove, you took an Uber, didn't you?
That's right.
And Jessica Marks did not get in this Uber with you, correct?
No, Jessica didn't come in the Uber. No.
Now, Mr. Levin, I know this may be hard for you, but I'm just going to get into what happened after you guys left the bar. After that, Jessica Marks drove off a highway into a ravine, correct?
Yes.
And she died, didn't she?
That's right.
This left you in shock, didn't it?
Yes. I mean, I told the Uber driver to pull over. I called the police. I was too scared to actually go over to the car, but I waited the whole time I was watching. It was traumatizing.
And because of that shock, there's a few things you couldn't remember from that night, wasn't there?
I remember all the details at the bar, I'd say.
But isn't it true that you couldn't remember a few details from that night when you were, for example, talking to Officer Gaskins, who arrived on scene?
Right. I told Officer Gaskins that I had had a few drinks.
Now let's just talk about that a little more. But first, we'll talk about your recollection of other events from March 24th. Now, around a year later, when your deposition was taken and you weren't in shock anymore, you still couldn't remember specific events from that night, correct?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean.
Well, let's talk about the police report then. Now, you talked to an officer on scene, correct?
Right, on March 24th, right as it happened, I did.
And do you remember what you told the officer at that time?
I told Officer Gaskins that I had had a few drinks.
And when your oral deposition was taken, you said you didn't remember what you told Officer Gaskins, correct?
Right, specifically what I told Officer Gaskins, no.
Now let's look at what exactly you told Officer Gaskins. Your Honor, at this time, my second chair will be displaying Exhibit 23 for the court, which has been pre-admitted into evidence already. Now, just focus your attention to the zoomed in text for me, Mr. Levin. Now, this police report states, quote, Levin said Levin and Jessica had not had any drinks as they were not 21. I explained that we'd likely take a blood sample from Marks and would know if Levin was lying. I also explained that I would attain their bar tab. Levin then acknowledged that Marks had a few drinks and Levin had a few also. And when I asked Levin what they meant by a few, Levin said, I don't know, 3. Did I read that correctly, Mr. Levin?
Exactly.
Now, second chair, you could go ahead and take that exhibit down for us. So Jessica only had 3 drinks that night?
From what I told Gaskins at the time, I said that we both had a few drinks.
And then when asked how much was a few, you said 3, didn't you?
Right, I said both Jessica and I had a few drinks.
So back to the question I asked you before, Jessica only had 3 drinks that night?
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered.
May I be heard, Your Honor?
Briefly, yes.
Your Honor, the witness hasn't answered this question in full, which is why I'm now bringing the question back to the witness so that they can actually answer the question.
I think the witness is going to stick with his answer. So move on, counsel.
Now, you stated on direct examination that Jessica had far more than just 3 drinks, didn't you?
Right. She had, I said probably of the 7, I had a few drinks, and she had the rest.
So that means that you lied to Officer Gaskins about how much Jessica drank, correct?
I said she had a few drinks from what I could recall at that time.
I'm sorry, Mr. Levin, when I read the text, you clearly said, I don't know, 3. You would agree that 3 is a different number than 7, wouldn't you?
Right. When he was asking about how many drinks I had, just like in the deposition, I said that I had 3, and I said she had a few to 5. I mean, at the time, it really was the same. She had a few drinks.
Now, Mr. Levin, now I'm just going to ask you some questions about that video that was just played before in direct examination. Were any members of Sunny's Rooftop Bar present for the playing of that video?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Your Honor, vague as to the playing of that video. It's unclear what time the video is being played at.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
I won't allow an objection to vague. This is cross-examination. Do you have a different objection to make?
Lack of foundation that video was played for a bartender at all.
Let's response from defense counsel.
Your Honor, if I'm not mistaken, I just asked this witness if any members of Sunny's Rooftop Bar were there when this video was taken.
If that's true, Your Honor, then I withdraw my objection. I heard the word played, which is where I got confused as to timing. But if it's just taken, I can withdraw my objection.
Yes, let's assume that what defense counsel just said was what he had originally said. So I'll overrule with that assumption and we'll keep going. You may proceed.
Mr. Levin, when that video was taken, were there any members of Sunny's Rooftop Bar present?
I don't think so. No, I don't believe so.
Sunny Meadow wasn't in that video, correct?
I didn't see Sunny Men in the video, no.
And Sunny Meadow wasn't taking that video, correct?
No, that video was from my phone.
Therefore, Sunny Meadow didn't see the behaviors strictly in that 37-second video, correct?
I don't know.
Your Honor, calls for speculation. We don't know where Sunny Meta exactly was at that time or whether or not they saw Jessica Marks displaying those symptoms.
May I respond, Your Honor?
No, sustained.
Now, Mr. Levin, based off of your observations, you just told me that Sunny Meadow wasn't in the video and he wasn't taking the video. Based on your observations, was Sunny Meadow aware of this video being taken?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
You may.
Your Honor, I'm simply asking this witness about their observations. If they didn't observe Sunny Meadow being there for this video, then they can say no. If they did, then they can say yes. They wouldn't have to speculate as to what they observed that night.
Your Honor, may I be heard, Your Honor?
That's okay. So the witness can say what he knows about what Sunny Mehta knows. He may not make a definitive statement as to whether Miss Mehta was aware of this information at the time. So we'll go on that assumption. So overruled in part, sustained in part.
And what was your answer to that question, Mr. Levin?
As far as I'm aware, I didn't see Sunny in the video. I was the one recording. You know, I'm not sure. I don't believe Sunny was there, but I'm not sure.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I have
Any-
no redirect. May this witness please be excused?
Yes. Mr. Levin, you are excused. And is there anything further from the plaintiff?
Not at this time, Your Honor. The plaintiff rests.
All right. In that case, if everyone is, thank you, timekeeper. If everyone is ready to go into the defense case in chief, defense, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would begin by calling Sunny Mehta to the stand.
You can proceed when ready, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Sunny Mehta.
And Miss Mehta, what is it that you do for a living?
I consider myself an entrepreneur. I used to own Sunny's Rooftop Bar, but now I'm kind of in between businesses.
Now, let's just talk a little more about Sunny's Rooftop Bar. Now, you said that you used to own it. Why is that?
I sold it a while ago.
Why exactly did you sell the bar?
My liquor license got rescinded because we served alcohol to Miss Marks.
Now, let's just talk about that specific instance with Miss Marks. When did you first meet Jessica Marks?
The first time I met her was when she walked into Sunny's rooftop bar on March 24th, 2019.
And when she walked into Sunny's rooftop bar, was she served at your bar?
Yes, she was.
So let's just get into why you served Jessica Marks. Can you tell the jury why you did that?
At the time, I didn't know she was a minor, and she seemed sober enough to drink.
Now, let's move on to what happened after Jessica Marks had access to the alcohol at your bar. Who served Jessica Marks on her table?
I did. I was their server. Her and Miss Levin.
Well, if you delivered and served drinks to the table, what are some things that you had the opportunity to observe about the two?
About Miss Marks, nothing. Miss Marks seemed fine the whole time. Miss Levin, near the end of the night, she started seeming a little buzzed.
And we're going to go a little bit more into detail of how the two appeared. Your Honor, at this time, my second chair will be displaying a demonstrative aid for the court. Now, Miss Mehta, did Morgan Levin have red bloodshot eyes in the 10 times you appeared to their table?
Near the end, yes, she did seem to have a red bloodshot eyes.
And did she have a loss of coordination?
Yeah, she seemed a bit stumbly at the end when she was coming down the stairs when she was leaving the bar.
Was she slurring her words?
Yes.
And was what she was saying making sense?
At the end of the night, she was slurring her words and not making sense of it.
Now let's talk about Jessica Marks. That night, did Jessica Marks have red bloodshot eyes?
No.
What about a loss of coordination?
No.
Was she slurring her words?
No.
And finally, was she not making sense?
No, each time when I took her orders and served her drinks, she was talking to me and ordering her drinks, and she seemed fine.
So did Jessica Marks drink at your bar?
Yes, she did. Since she didn't seem intoxicated, I had to keep serving her drinks.
And you said she didn't seem intoxicated. What makes you think that Jessica Marks wasn't intoxicated based off of your observations?
Well, to own a bar and to be a server in California, we have to take a responsible beverage course. And in that course, we're trained how to look to see if someone is obviously intoxicated. And there's a list of signs that we have to know. And if someone displays those signs, that's how we know if they're intoxicated.
Now, you just mentioned the list of signs of how you could know if someone's intoxicated. Can you please proceed to tell the jury what some of these signs are?
Yes, some of those signs, they were the ones you just asked me about. If you have red, watery eyes, if you're stumbling, if you have a loss of coordination, if you smell like alcohol, if you're slurring your words, not making sense, and of course, if you're passed out.
And how many signs did Jessica Marks show of the ones that you just listed, or of any signs that you know, on March 24th?
She didn't show any of the signs. I wish she had. That way I would have been able to stop serving her. She showed no signs.
Thank you, Ms. Mehta. Now let's just talk about what happened a little later on in the night. Now, a little later in the night, when everyone was getting ready to leave, did you observe how Jessica Marks and Morgan Levin were about to leave your bar?
I observed them coming down the stairs when the bar was closing. So I saw them when they were leaving.
And you just mentioned observing them when they were coming down the stairs. Did anything happen when they were coming down the stairs?
Nothing with Miss Marks. Nothing with Miss Levin. She just seemed a little stumbly coming down the stairs.
And you mentioned that Miss Levin seemed a little stumbly coming down the stairs. Did she drive home that night if she seemed stumbly coming down the stairs?
No, Miss Levin had seemed a little buzzed near the end of the night, so I wanted to make sure she wasn't driving. So I asked Miss Marks, I asked, she's not driving home, is she? And kind of nodded towards Miss Levin. And Miss Marks said, no, I'm going to be the one driving, which at the moment made me feel really good because I thought Miss Levin was going not to be driving, so I thought she'd be fine.
So how did Morgan Levin get ready to go home that night?
Miss Levin, I don't really know how she was going to get home. I just knew she wasn't going to be driving. I assumed she was going to be with Miss Marks. That's what Miss Marks said.
But now it's come to your attention how Miss Levin was getting home that night, correct?
Yes. Now, just listening to trial, I know she took an Uber.
And how did Jessica Marks plan on getting home that night, based off of the knowledge that you now have?
I know she decided to drive home.
And you mentioned that Jessica Marks was going to drive home. Why didn't you call Jessica Marks an Uber?
She seemed fine when she left my bar, and since she didn't show any of the symptoms of intoxication, I had no right to stop her from leaving.
And why didn't you try to get in contact with someone she knew to take her home?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance?
If I may be heard, Your
Response?
Honor.
Go ahead, counsel.
Your Honor, today's case is about Jessica Marks and the fact that she drove home, or she attempted to drive home from the bar on March 24th. Asking this witness about how she got home is very relevant to the facts of this case, seeing that it is a fact today that Sunny Mehta is being held liable for Jessica Marks' actions.
Response from plaintiff counsel?
Yes, Your Honor, we're here to decide whether or not Sunny's bar watched Miss Marks as intoxicated and then continued to serve her, not whether or not she evaluated how they were getting home, called a friend, took away keys. That's not really relevant to today's charge.
If I may respond, Your Honor.
Briefly.
Your Honor, we're here today to assess whether or not Sunny's Rooftop Bar was responsible for the actions of Jessica Marks, and if they could have done anything more to avoid Jessica Marks' death. Therefore, asking Ms. Mehta about Jessica Marks' actions and why they didn't stop her actions are very relevant to the facts of this case, Your Honor.
Because relevance is such a low bar, I'll overrule this one,
Yes,
and you
Your
may proceed.
Now, Ms. Mehta, why didn't you try to get in contact with someone that Jessica knew so that they could take her home?
Again, she didn't show any of the signs of intoxication, so I had no right to stop her. I had no right to call someone else. I had to let her go.
Is that why you allowed her to drive herself home?
Yes, I can't stop her if I don't see any of the signs. It's my right, it's my duty to keep on serving someone if they seem fine, and it's my duty to let them leave the bar if they seem fine.
Thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions at this time.
Cross.
Thank you, counsel. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Ms. Mehta.
Good afternoon.
Ms. Mehta, I want to begin by talking about your bar. When you bought your bar, you made sure your employees completed their safety training, correct?
Yes, I did.
This included finding signs of obvious intoxication, right?
Yes, the training includes that, and it's very important, which is why I made sure all my employees were up to date on that certification.
But you didn't ask your employees to see proof of their training certifications, did you?
No, they told me, and I trusted them.
But you never actually checked. Do I have that right?
No, I don't believe I actually checked them, but they told me they had completed it.
I'm showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 1. This is a plea agreement. Now, in 2016, your bar was charged with serving alcohol to a minor, right?
Yes.
And that specific bartender who served the alcohol, his name was Frankfurt, right?
Yes, Frankfurt Johnson.
He pled guilty to this charge, right?
Yes, he did.
Mr. Johnson wasn't fired, was he?
No, at the time we didn't really know that he didn't know he'd served to a minor.
But
Objection, Your Honor. Objection, Your Honor, as to relevance. May I be heard?
Let's hear from defense counsel. Yes, explain a little bit further.
Your Honor, today's case isn't about why Frankfurt Johnson wasn't fired in a past issue with Sunny's Rooftop Bar. It's about Jessica Marks' incident. And this has nothing to do with Jessica Marks or today's case at all.
Response from the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor, Frankfurt Johnson is a defendant in today's case. As a offer of proof, my next question will be whether or not Frankfurt Johnson was working the night in question. Frankfurt Johnson's past actions in serving a minor alcohol are relevant. In addition, this exhibit is already into evidence.
If I may respond to that, Your Honor.
Yes. Briefly.
Your Honor, my objection isn't to relevance as to this exhibit. It's to this question. This question is asking my witness, Sunny Mehta, as to an issue that happened years ago that didn't have anything to do with Jessica Marks' situation. Therefore, this is irrelevant, seeing that Jessica Marks' situation is the issue that this court case is about today.
All right, so seeing as the bar for relevance is very, very low, I'm going to overrule on relevance. Counsel, you may proceed.
Ms. Mehta, Frankfurt Johnson wasn't fired from your establishment, was he?
No, at the time he didn't know. He thought the person he served was older than 21, but now just to be sure, we card everyone who looks younger than 45. Better to be safe than sorry.
That's right. He was working the night Jessica Marks died, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. It was me and him.
I want to back up and talk a little bit about that night. That was a slow night, wasn't it?
We had around 20 customers, but never more than 12 or 14 at a time.
So that's a yes, it was a slow night?
Yes, I guess so, but it was only me and Frankfurt working.
Now, Jessica Marks walked into the bar around 9 o'clock, right?
Yes, I believe so.
She sat down at the rooftop,
Yes.
and you served her and Morgan Levin all night long, right?
Yes, I was the one serving them.
In fact, you were at their table 8 to 10 times that night, right?
Yes, I was taking their orders and serving their drinks.
Let's talk about everything you brought them. You brought them an entire bottle of wine, right?
Yes.
You served them 2 beers, right?
Yes.
You brought them 3 White Claws, correct?
Yes.
And you served them 2 more shots at the end of the night, right?
Yes.
It's your testimony that Morgan Levin looked like this alcohol was affecting her, right?
Yes, near the end of the night, Morgan Levin did seem like the alcohol was affecting her.
I want to talk about Miss Levin a little bit. She had bloodshot eyes by your account, as you just said.
Yes, near the end of the night. Yes, she did.
She had trouble holding her pen, right?
Yes, just as she was leaving a bit.
She was tripping over her words, slurring her speech.
Yes.
Miss Mehta, those are all signs of obvious intoxication. Am I correct?
Yes, all of those are signs of obvious intoxication. I made sure Miss Levin wasn't driving that night.
That's right. You confirmed with Jessica Marks at 11 p.m. that Morgan Levin wasn't driving, right?
Yes, I didn't want Miss Levin driving.
But you never cut Morgan Levin off, did you?
Well, all these symptoms of intoxication, she was showing them near the end of the night. When I confirmed, she just seemed a little buzzed.
So you served her at 11 p.m. Do I have that right?
I can't remember exactly what times I served her. I assume so. They were ordering drinks all night.
You checked, my apologies, you checked to make sure that she wasn't driving home at 11 p.m., right?
Yes, I did.
And you continued to serve her after that?
Again, I can't remember, probably.
Okay, Miss Levin. It's your, Miss Mehta, it's your testimony that Miss Marks and Miss Levin consumed the same number of drinks, right?
Again, I didn't really see them finish any of the drinks. They were ordering a similar amount of drinks.
So it's your testimony that Miss Levin was displaying symptoms, but Miss Marks wasn't, right?
Yes.
I'm showing you what has been pre-marked as Exhibit 10. This video is already in evidence. You were shown this video of Jessica Marks during your deposition, right?
Yes.
And after watching this video, you said that you would have been concerned if you had seen this behavior, right?
Yeah, I wish I'd seen this behavior. That would have given me a reason to cut her off or make sure she wasn't driving herself home. I just didn't, though. It's definitely a possibility that she's intoxicated in this video. I can't say for sure, but it's a possibility.
Miss Meta, it's a possibility that Morgan Levin is drunk, or my apologies, Jessica Marks is drunk in this video. Those are your words.
I would have had to keep observing her, but yes, it's a possibility just on these 30 seconds.
This video was taken at your bar, right?
Yes.
This video was taken at the table you served them at all night long, right?
Yes.
Finally, I'm showing you Exhibit 22. This is already in evidence. This shows that Jessica Marks's blood alcohol content was 0.16, right?
Yes, I see that now.
So after drinking at your bar for 3 hours, Miss Marks's blood alcohol content was twice the legal limit to drive. Is that right?
Yes, it was. I wish I'd known.
No further questions at this time.
Thank you, counsel. Is there any redirect for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. A brief redirect.
You may proceed.
Ms. Meta, just one question. Why did you not cut Jessica Marks off from drinking?
She didn't show me any of the signs of obvious intoxication. I couldn't do anything because of that.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. And I assume there's nothing further for this witness from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor.
All right. The witness is excused. Anything further from the defense? Sorry, counsel. I don't think I can hear you.
My apologies, Your Honor. I was muted. There's nothing further from the defense today, Your Honor.
No worries. So if either party is ready to proceed into closing arguments, let's go ahead and do so.
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff is ready to proceed.
Go ahead when you're ready.
19-year-olds aren't supposed to be served alcohol. 19-year-olds aren't supposed to die. Sonny's Bar let Jessica in. Sonny's Bar served Jessica alcohol. Sonny's Bar watched as Jessica Marks and Morgan Levin continued to display more and more and more symptoms of obvious intoxication. And then they continued to serve them anyways. Today, the plaintiff has charged Sonny's Bar with the wrongful death of Jessica Marks under California Business and Professions Code 25602.1. Today, it was our duty to show by a preponderance of the evidence that Jessica Marks was more likely than not her death was more likely than not a result of the negligence of Sonny's Bar. That means that Miss Meta or Mr. Johnson more likely than not continued to serve a minor after she displayed the symptoms of obvious intoxication. We also had to show that the alcohol that they served her, we had to show that was a substantial factor in her death. It doesn't need to be the only cause of harm to find Sonny's Bar liable, just that it was a substantial factor. Well, that's a lot, and I want to walk through each part of that charge. Today, you saw a police report showing Jessica Marks's blood alcohol content to be 0.16. Ms. Meta got on the stand and told you herself today that that's twice the legal limit to drive. Regardless of how Ms. Marks was presenting her symptoms, there's no dispute in today's case that a blood alcohol content of 0.16 would leave her severely intoxicated and impaired while driving on March 24th. Any other explanation for her crash, that would defy common sense. Well, that leaves us with the biggest question in today's case, whether or not Jessica Marks appeared obviously intoxicated to Ms. Meta or Mr. Johnson. Remember, this means we need to show that she displayed one or more of these symptoms: bloodshot eyes, poor muscular coordination, slurred speech, impaired judgment, or anything else that would lead a reasonable person to believe that Jessica Marks was drunk. And let's focus on that word, reasonable, because you, members of the jury, are all reasonable people. You saw the same Jessica today that Ms. Meta saw that night in Exhibit 10. You saw her slurring her words. You saw her poor muscle coordination. You saw her looking drunk, not making much sense. That video was only 37 seconds long. Recall what you heard in court today. Miss Mehta was at their table 8 to 10 times throughout that night, twice the length of that video. You heard she was there when she first took their orders. You heard she was there when she brought out an entire bottle of wine. She was there when she brought a beer. She was there when she brought them 3 White Claws. She was there when she brought them another beer near the end of the night. And she was there when she brought them the shots. She told you herself. She was there 8 to 10 times for a minute at a time. Members of the jury, we know that Miss Mehta had the time. We know that she was in the right place to see Jessica Mark displaying these symptoms of obvious intoxication. Members of the jury, today our burden isn't beyond a reasonable doubt despite preponderance of the evidence. That means more likely than not. Miss Mehta, more likely than not, saw Miss Marks displaying all of these symptoms. But even if she saw a drunk Jessica Marks, we still need to show that she continued to serve her alcohol. So let's look at a timeline of the night. We can see from these exhibits 11 through 16, that Jessica Marks and Morgan Levin were served continuously all the way up to closing, not just in the beginning and not just in the end. Miss Mehta had a chance to watch Jessica's behavior through the course of the night as she consumed more alcohol, watch as she began to get more and more drunk. Recall what Mr. Levin told the court today. Jessica Marks fell into Sunny Mehta at 10 p.m. Miss Mehta then said, "Whoa, Frankfurt, I think we might need to cut this one off." But if we look at these photos, if we look at these exhibits, we can see she never cut Jessica off. Members of the jury, it shows that Miss Mehta saw a symptom of obvious intoxication, and then she continued to serve. But I want to talk a little bit about Miss Mehta's defense today, because today the defense came up here and they attacked Mr. Levin's credibility. They told him, "You're not credible because you were drunk on March 24th, and we know because Sunny Mehta saw it." Let's say that Miss Mehta is telling the truth, that Jessica's fall never happened, that she told Jessica to make sure Morgan wasn't driving at 11 p.m. If we look back at that timeline, she still continued to serve Mr. Levin drinks after she believed that he was obviously intoxicated. We can see from Exhibit 15 that a wine was removed and replaced with a beer. She was still serving an obviously intoxicated minor. Listen to what she's really saying today. She's telling the court that she was first around the table enough to see Morgan Levin's symptoms, which directly contradicts what she says about seeing Miss Marks. Second, that she broke the law she is being charged with, serving an obviously intoxicated minor. And finally, that she's willing to lie on the stand about it. Recall all those drinks she served the table: the wine, the beer, the seltzers, the other beer, the shots, with the effect that she says it has on Morgan Levin. It is completely absurd that she didn't see Jessica Marks as intoxicated, especially since she made a point of telling the court that they drank the same number of drinks. According to Miss Mehta, she broke the law, serving an obviously intoxicated minor, just conveniently she broke it serving the one who's testifying against her, and not the one who is dead, not the one who is suing her. Members of the jury, the evidence is clear. Miss Mehta served a 19-year-old after she saw them drunk. And she said something interesting today. The defense made a big point that Miss Mehta didn't know that they were underage. Your Honor, the law says that Miss Mehta doesn't have to. Look at all the evidence in today's case, and please find Sunny's Bar liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Closing from the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
And can you see and hear me okay, Your Honor?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. How do you fix an issue that nobody knows about? How can you be responsible for an issue that was just never present? You can't. You can't, and that's the same exact thing that the plaintiff wanted Sunny's Rooftop Bar to do on March 24th, 2019. Jessica Marks was not drunk. Jessica Marks was not under the influence of alcohol. Jessica Marks was not obviously intoxicated. Yet they continue to feed you the false story that Jessica Marks' death was the fault of the defendant rather than her own negligence. They'll continue, and they will continue to feed this to you, down to the final word that Miss Rulli will tell you today. But members of the jury, I just ask that you do not become blinded by their need to place blame. Now, there's a few things that the plaintiff had to prove to you today in order to meet their burden of proof. Now, besides the fact that Jessica Marks was a minor, that she was served alcohol, they need to prove to you today that Jessica Marks was obviously intoxicated and the defendant perceived that. That 2, the alcohol furnished to her by Sonny's rooftop bar that night was a substantial factor in her death. And 3, the drinking that she had taken part in caused personal injury or death. The plaintiff couldn't prove this to you today. They didn't meet their burden of proof. Of course, you can't just take my word for it. You heard from witnesses today. You see, Sonny Meta, the bar owner at the time, told you that in their 10 trips to Jessica Marks' table, she continued to monitor, she continued to serve. You might be asking, why did she continue to serve if Miss Rulli just got up here and told you she was obviously intoxicated? It's because she wasn't. Miss Meta never told you today that Jessica Marks was obviously intoxicated. Rather, she told you the opposite. She said that when she learned Jessica Marks was driving home, she was relieved, as long as it was anyone other than Morgan Levin. The only person you heard from that told you otherwise was Morgan Levin. Now let's look at what exactly you heard from her today. Or rather, Morgan Levin, he told you today that Jessica Marks' death was a fault of Sonny's rooftop bar. Members of the jury, you just heard me say right now that Morgan Levin couldn't even walk in a straight line. You heard Sonny Meta say that Morgan Levin couldn't walk in a straight line. So why is it that Morgan Levin is now saying Jessica Marks couldn't walk in a straight line? That Jessica Marks shouldn't have been driving home because she was so drunk. Morgan Levin couldn't even tell you the truth today. He looked into his camera lens for 8 minutes and lied to you. Now, members of the jury, you remember when Miss Levin also said that Jessica had 8 drinks that night? There seemed to be a sudden change of heart, because when this night was fresh in his head, only minutes after the police arrived on scene, he said she had 3 drinks. In fact, he said they both had 3 drinks each. Morgan Levin could barely keep a straight story on stand under oath. And that's the case they presented to you. That was their only witness, the one unreliable witness. And members of the jury, with this being said, you understand what I mean when I say the plaintiff could not meet their burden of proof. They put more doubt in the air than they took away, if they even took any out of the air. That wasn't their job. Their job was to prove their case through a preponderance of the evidence, meaning more likely than not. They didn't. They couldn't, because they took on an impossible case and asked you to answer an impossible question. How can you be responsible for an issue that was never present? My client perceived no issue. They were then asked to solve said issue. They can't do that. It's impossible. Because of this, we ask that you deliver a verdict in favor of the defendant, Sonny's rooftop bar. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Rebuttal from the plaintiff.
Briefly, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Sonny Meta is the only person who says that Jessica Marks wasn't obviously intoxicated. But don't take my word for it. Don't take Mr. Levin's word for it. You saw a video today. You saw all the symptoms, and you know that Miss Meta was in exactly right place enough number of times to see that. With all the evidence you heard, we ask that you hold Sonny's bar 100% liable and bring justice to the Jessica Marks' family. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. We will wait a few minutes for everyone to finish up their ballots, and we will give some brief comments when those are all submitted.